Greetings everyone, this is part 2 of how I plan to launch my books in January 2020. It's going to cover covers, the title of the book, some future plans I have for merchandising, why I did a long pre-order, why I'm not using Royal Road like I used for my last 2 successful launches, and I discuss the books themselves and what tropes I plan to hit with them and how I'm diversifying who I'm aiming the book at. I also go into the trailer and I'll show off the new trailer for the book series. Now with that out of the way, let's get started.
Welcome to Climb a Mountain, an indie author's journey podcast diary. Follow Riley each week as he charts the progress of his indie author business. What are his plans? What will he try next? How are his book sales going? What can you learn from his experience? This is the Climb a Mountain podcast diary, and here is your host, Riley Morrison.
In the previous video, we covered the books themselves, so you knew what I'm actually releasing in January. My launch plan, basically 3 books in January, a week between the first 2 books, and then 6 days between book 2 and 3. There were 7 days later, 1 and 2, with Raid Slayer in between if I can pull it off and write the books in time. The first thing I want to cover is why I did a long pre-order for 7 days later. And the reason for that is simple. By doing a long pre-order, my book gets a lot more free exposure on Amazon. When you put up a pre-order, and especially if it does fairly well, like as in you get in, say, the top 100,000 or so on Amazon, you can often get in the hot new releases category of some of the lesser categories. I mean, unless you're a big name author, you might not get into a hot new release category of a major one, like say epic fantasy, something with thousands of books in it. But some of the smaller categories, even if you're not promoting your books like I'm not yet, can get into the top, like the hot new releases, or if you get up high enough, you might even get into the top, say, 50 in a category. So that means your book will be on the front page of that category if someone searches in that category. Now, like I said, unless you're a big name author and can get your pre-order to like in the top 30,000 or something in the store, most of the categories you're going to be displayed on are going to be lesser categories. If your book's on pre-order for say 3 months, for example, that means there's 3 months your book can be seen by readers without even paying for advertising. As the hot new release list is usually smaller than the normal, just the top 100 of a category, you can usually get pretty good exposure for your book. And it can stay there for the entire pre-order. So when you normally release a book, it usually stays in the hot new release category for 1 month. But you can have your book in there for say 3 or 4 months, or depends how long your pre-order is. I think it can go up to 6 months maybe now. Do be aware if you do a long pre-order of your book, be prepared to have a low rank on your book. If you're an unknown author and you're not promoting the pre-order, you might even climb above 1 million in the store. And it is hard to watch the rank climb, trust me. But you just have to remember that closer to launch, and when you actually start doing stuff for the book, then it should improve. So that's why I did a pre-order, all that exposure in the hot new releases categories, and even in the top, say, 50 to 100 in certain categories as well. It's a lot of free exposure before your book is even out to potential readers. As of making this video, 7 days later 1 has 28 pre-orders and book 2 has 6. Now that isn't as many as I want. Book 1's been on pre-order for about 5 weeks, 6 weeks, something like that. I was kind of hoping for 1 every day, and book 2 is doing terrible. It's got 6 pre-orders. But that said, I'm not running ads on them. They're just sitting there basically for now. Soon, probably around Christmas, bit after, I'm going to start running ads on the books. Now the reason I'm not running ads already is because I'm just not convinced that a lot of people are going to buy a book through ads or whatever that isn't coming out for weeks. Because a lot of people that also click ads, especially in my genre, are also KU readers, so they won't even be able to do anything with your book. They can click your ad, cost you money, and then, they can't buy your book or anything. So I didn't see any point of running ads on the book until it's close, and Brian Meeks and others have commented over time that it's probably not worth running AMS or other ads on pre-orders. That said, I'm a bit more willing to waste money, I suppose. Not that I could call it wasting money, it's probably the wrong word, when it's closer to launch. So say within a week and a half of launch, then I guess people are going to be more likely to pre-order the book just so they remember it's there, sort of thing. As to book 2 having so few pre-orders, I mean, I'm just going to guess it's down to the fact that this is a series that's unreleased, so they might be willing to pre-order book 1, but they want to give the series a go before they buy book 2. I mean, it's possible this is a sign that it's going to fail, I don't know, so I guess time will tell. But I'm more thinking it's just that I'm not running ads on it, and people aren't just going to pre-order 2 books and they're full price, $3.99 each. So yeah, it's a bit of a risk if you're going to pre-order multiple books. Now for the fun part, the covers. Now to good think about what I like as a post-apocalyptic reader and gamer when I designed the covers for 7 Days Later. As usual, I did my normal thing of I mocked the cover up myself. I found the stock art images I wanted and placed the text and whatever, all that sort of stuff in a mock-up of the covers, and then I gave it to an artist to do a better job. I've had a lot of people comment on my Raid Slayer covers and how great they are, especially people in my genre. Yet I bet you if I told them I got them for less than $20 they'd be absolutely amazed. So I think the reason I can get such good covers for less than $20 is because I put in the work of mocking them up and showing the artist exactly what I want, and then just telling them basically to make it better. Now, I wanted something that captured post-apocalyptic just at a glance. And I also wanted the characters to fit the style of my Raid Slayer characters as CGI characters type stuff, as that sort of fits lit RPG game lit, as they're all set in game worlds. I did some research on the colour schemes of a lot of post-apocalyptic books, and sort of the orangey, browny, sort of fiery type colours was pretty popular. And as to the logo, 7 Days Later, I wanted that to really stand out, and I actually based it on the look of the 7 Days to Die logo. I wanted it to sort of, just at a glance, a player of that game, because it sold 3 million copies. It sold a fair few copies anyway, and it's still pretty popular. I wanted it to catch their eye so they can see it and go, oh, is that 7 Days to Die? And then they see it 7 days later, and then they might look at the cover and then read the tagline, a post-apocalyptic game-lit survival horror. Anyone who plays this type of game would know exactly what this book is very quickly, just based on a post-apocalyptic game-lit survival horror. So if you're thinking like, say, Minecraft, but a bit more violent with zombies and a bit more realistic looking type thing. Now, I really did think about the branding, and I think the 7 Days Later being so big and prominent, even when you look at it in a thumbnail image, will really help with branding. It's a bit like the Raid Slayer title itself too. I just think that keeping the titles of your books short, something you can make into a logo like that, just helps with the branding. And it kind of looks cool too, like something you'd just have on a poster, which I'm hopefully planning to do one day with the books. Yeah, just have that on a poster with the, say, a background like the cover, and it'll look pretty awesome. And as to the logo for the title, I have emailed the developers to make sure they're okay about it, sort of being similar. I mean, it's not so close that they can probably do anything, but I had my other motivations for contacting the developers too, other than just ask are they okay with it, because I made a joke about I didn't want to get sued. I also mentioned to them had they ever considered having an official book for the game, and by contacting them and showing them my author profile, the book and stuff like that, I'm kind of hoping they go, oh cool, we didn't think of an official book, do you want to write it, or do you want to make your books the official books, or whatever, that type of thing. So I thought that'd be pretty cool. And another cool thing would be is they like, even if they don't want it as like an official book, that they might promote it to 7 Days Later fans on their social media or something like that, as say, hey, look at this cool book. It's a lot like 7 Days Later, 7 Days to Die. I'm getting confused with the names. And yeah, why don't you check it out type stuff. But most likely, I haven't heard back from them. I've only sent the email a couple of days ago. They might not get back to me at all, which is fine. They're very busy people. I'd much rather hear from them, obviously. But yeah, having a logo that looks like the thing you're basically inspired by like that, and it's, 7 Days Later the story is different to 7 Days to Die, but it is still very much the same thing. Now with the covers as well, I wanted to appeal to game lit people and lit RPG type readers, but I also wanted to have the other option of appealing to post-apocalyptic type readers too. So even though I guess a lot of them might not be interested in the fact that it's in a game world and it has gaming aspects to it, some of them might be. And I'm sure there's a lot of crossover between the genres anyway. And I mean, games like Fallout 3 and all 4 and all that sort of stuff are very popular too. So I do think there's a lot of crossover, but by having it as post-apocalyptic as well, I can definitely target some of my ads and focus on that sort of group of people as well. And it's survival horror, but I'm not necessarily going to target it at horror people, because it's not. While it's horror, we're talking more like, say, The Walking Dead type horror. So it might not appeal to like a Stephen King fan. Although I guess he wrote The Stand, so it might appeal to people like that book. So I've got a lot of potential for this book, and I'm going to try to keep like everything separate, like run ads only to post-apocalyptic people and run ads to, say, game lit and lit RPG type people. Unlike Raid Slayer, the book isn't harem. Though I did keep that option open until the end, because that's mostly what I guess I'm known for. I am a little worried because the book 2 cover has 2 women on it, and I guess the man standing up and they're down on their knees, which might be a sign of like submission to him or something, but it's not. They're just, stuck in the game together basically. So I tried to keep any sort of idea that it could be a harem book out of the blurbs, and other than the 2 women on the cover, because obviously having 2 women on a cover these days and a man instantly means it's a harem book or something. I tried to dissuade that people from thinking it's harem. But I also felt the third character is, very important to the story. She's like a main character in book 2, that she should be on the cover too. Now when I designed the covers originally and thought about it, I also chose images that I could make a series with. The images of the people all have multiple different poses with different backgrounds and all the rest of it, and I deliberately did that so I didn't have to use the same stock image over and over again, say like I did with Raid Slayer. I mean, it kind of fits for the Raid Slayer books because it's like, I guess, the main character in that adding to his harem type stuff, so it's cool they're all got the same pose, it doesn't really matter. But this one I wanted different backgrounds and all that sort of thing. Now the book cover also sells like zombies, I suppose, even if there's none on it, and monsters or whatever. They're actually mutants in my book, though there is zombies. I mean, you may as well just call them zombies, I suppose. I just wanted a clear cover that you can look at it at a glance and know what genre it is and say a bit about what it's likely going to be about. Now particularly the print book covers look absolutely awesome. I'm going to try to either get the source file for those covers, which I might probably have to pay for because they don't like handing them over, usually artists, or I might just have to pay the cover artist to make them into a sort of poster type thing. I just want the picture itself with the same sort of editing to it, and then the logo, because I think that'd be pretty cool as a cover, and just other sort of side stuff. If the book series does well, I can get people on the mailing list by offering them, say, a desktop image of the book cover, like, say, the print book cover and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I'm definitely want to get into the more of the merchandising part of it with this series if I can, and maybe one day Raid Slayer. I just think that there's revenue to be made there. The people that wrote Galaxy's Edge have talked about that a lot of their money these days actually comes from merchandising and all the rest of it. They had a really cool series, it was popular, and their fans absolutely love it, and their fans are willing to spend money on just merchandise, shirts or whatever. Calendars probably, I don't know exactly all the merchandising they do. If you have a successful series, do keep that in mind, and if you actually brand your book and book covers right, say like I think Raid Slayer and 7 Days Later have, and it looks cool on its own just with the, say, title like Raid Slayer or 7 Days Later, then you can do a lot with that. So as a new writer, I would suggest not only doing the research of covers in the genre you're targeting and the colour schemes or just the general layout, also try to make sure you're branding on it, whether you want your author name to be the branding or if you want the title of the book to be the branding, then try to have it sort of stand out, really stand out sort of thing. Something that looks cool as a logo. And if you really want readers to have a higher chance of remembering your name too, do make your own name, author name sort of prominent. Don't make it tiny and small that hardly anyone sees it, basically. Tagline itself, like in this case a post-apocalyptic game-lit survival horror, that to me isn't as important. I suppose that's more important in Amazon, like next to the title, like 7 days later, and then it says a post-apocalyptic game-lit survival horror. There's books without the tagline that do as well, so it's up to you if you want to add a tagline. I kind of like doing it because you can just see at a pretty quick glance, even if you can't see the cover, of what the book is basically. When it comes to the pre-launch stuff, and this will even work post-launch I suppose, I decided to make a trailer for 7 days later, and I wanted to make one that's sort of punchy and really sells what it is, and one that I can possibly use in the future if I decide to ever run Facebook ads. I can run ads off it basically. It's not like just a book image or anything like that. It's a pretty cool trailer, and I did put a fair bit of work into it, so I'll show you the trailer now. It's only a bit over 30 seconds long, and then I'll discuss it.
Open world survival. Hunting, mining, logging. Build your base. Drive in style. Face the horde. 7 days later. Grab it now on Amazon.com. Free on Kindle Unlimited.
Now, I'm by no means great at making videos, as you can probably tell, but I wanted that to look professional. I got stock art images I chose, and then I really sort of thought about what are the key points that people would like in the sort of genre I'm writing in, and as a gamer as well, and I hit all those key points in that video, like say building or base building, the different tools you can use, because tools are very important in this. I mean, Minecraft is a sort of survival building game, is often represented just by its pickaxe, so I wanted the key points in the video. As to the voiceover, I wanted like a professional to do it, someone who's got a sort of radio voice, I guess. It was hard to find someone I liked, and the guy I got for it did pretty good. I still would have liked a more deeper, sort of slower voice, but I mean, it was also expensive to be able to use the voiceover commercially, so I went with a sort of cheaper option, a guy starting out, I guess. And I think he did a good job. And as to the sound effects and all that, I mean, I just used a free sound effect website and mixed stuff together, and I wanted sort of sounds that would really sort of, I guess, give you the image of an apocalypse, like the wailing sirens at the start and all the rest of it. Now, I tried to keep it as short as possible as well, because I know that, you know, people have shorter attention spans now, and if it's on Facebook as an ad, I wanted it short and catchy and to quickly say what it is and then have the books at the end. Now, I do have problems with the trailer. One, that perhaps people are going to think it's a video game rather than a book. That's always a bit of a worry to me, and especially when the book one blurb on Amazon is definitely more like reading a game blurb basically. It's only got a tiny bit about the characters, so that is a concern. And look, if stuff doesn't work, I'm willing to change it and make it more clear it's about a book, and I'm willing to change the book one blurb. There's probably other things you can do with the trailer. You can definitely put it up on Amazon under your, like on your author page. I have, say, the Vasari trailer there, but have it there. Have it on your Facebook page, and maybe show it off to your mailing list type thing to get them excited about your book, which I am planning on doing as well. Now, I don't think the trailer is going to be like a make or break thing for this book launch. I think it's just something that can help on the side. And yeah, it's like some people swear by book trailers, other people say it's not even worth it. I guess if you could just do one yourself cheap and easily, I mean, I certainly wouldn't pay thousands of dollars, because I know that there's businesses out there that do charge thousands of dollars to make a trailer. But if you can just make something simple, fairly easy on the side like that, and a voice actor, you could go to Fiverr.com. There's thousands of voiceover people there, and yeah, they're cheap. So the only expensive part, I guess, is if you want to use it commercially for ads and stuff like I did. But even then, if you just get a newer voiceover artist, you likely won't have to pay too much for that, like $20 or $30 or something. So yeah, if you want voiceover work, definitely go to Fiverr. Unlike my previous two successful series launches, Raid Slayer and Fasaria Online, I am not using Royal Road this time. Royal Road is a bit like Wattpad. You can put your book up there for people to read for free, and you can link to your book on Amazon, and hopefully I guess they read it and go and pre-order the book. The problem with those sites is that most of the readers there are only interested in free books, and they're all around the world, so they're not necessarily even got access to Amazon, and they're often, I'm guessing, younger readers without, say, enough money to buy books or whatever, so they go there to read them for free. That said, there has been successful authors in my genre that have come out of Royal Road and have done really, really well. If you get known on Royal Road, or I guess the same applies for Wattpad and other similar sites, then you can grow a fan base there, and hopefully some of them translate to sales when you, say, take your book for paid on Amazon. I imagine that's a lot of work in itself, growing a fan base there and just being a part of that community, and I do think going that direction can work, especially if you haven't got money for promotion and all the rest of it, and you're an unknown author basically. So if you put your book on there, say a chapter at a time, get whatever feedback you can for it, and hopefully I guess you get a loyal readership who's hanging out for your next chapter. You can probably have them help you make the book, like giving you directions and pointers or whatever of what they'd like to see, to give you ideas to where to go next, or if they don't like some aspect of it you can change it, that type of stuff. But I've chosen not to do it this time because it's kind of a pain to have to upload chapters there. And I also heard a recent story that there's one of those sort of scammy, probably internet marketer types stealing books from there and just basically changing the names of characters and minor details of the plot and then putting it up on Amazon for sale. Most of them have gotten taken down, but I mean that's always the risk of putting your book up before it releases. That I mean, you can probably in the end prove that it's yours and all the rest of it. I'm not so worried that it's gonna, like, someone's stolen your book and you can't get it back. It's more Amazon will take the book down until you can basically prove who owns it, and that it just really seriously disrupt your launch. So I didn't really think it worth it this time. I wanted to try doing it without it, but that is always an option for newer authors in particular. Royal Road or Wattpad, or I'm sure there's other sites like that. But they have their own algorithms and different sort of ecosystems, so you need to work out how to go about gaining readers there. I do think it possibly played a part in the success of my two series that I put up there, but I mean I can't really prove that because you can't track where people come from. So I guess this will be a good test of how much Royal Road made a difference to the launches of those two books. Other than that, for the pre-launch, I'm going to periodically post stuff on my Facebook page, which I've already done a bit of, and try to get word out there that the book is coming. The only problem with my Facebook page is I get a lot of like family members and local friends sort of comment on stuff, so it kind of messes with the Facebook algorithms. That's something I'm going to have to work on. And keeping people updated on the Facebook page is something, I mean, I don't have too many readers. A lot of the people that are friends with me on Facebook or have liked my stuff is like other authors and, like I said, family. But there's always a chance someone's going to look at your Facebook page and see it. So, I mean, it's not costing me anything. I'm not paying Amazon to Facebook to promote it or anything like that. So, yeah, there's no harm in doing it. I'll probably also put stuff on my website in the lead up to launch as it draws closer, and I'll definitely link them on my website with under my other books, because I have a certain page that shows all my books and it links them to Amazon or wherever else they're sold. And I'll also, I guess, put stuff up on my website because it's linked to my Amazon author page, so all my website updates on the main page show up on Amazon as well. So maybe that'd be a good place to put the book cover image and all the rest of it. Now before I end this video, I just wanted to very quickly say the reason I wrote the 7 Days Later books is because I love sort of crafting survival horror type games like 7 Days to Die, and I was playing a lot of 7 Days to Die when I started writing it. The genre itself isn't overly popular on Amazon, survival horror game lit, and there isn't too many post-apocalyptic game lit or lit RPG books either. So it is a bit of a risk writing it, and I'm fully willing to accept that, I suppose. And it can either be a good thing that there isn't too much competition, or it could be a sign that it's likely going to fail, and that's why there's not many people writing in the game lit post-apocalyptic realm. Now there's plenty of like fantasy post-apocalyptic stuff, like my other books are all post-apocalyptic fantasy in a lot of ways, so it's more, I'm talking like survival wasteland type books aren't overly popular in the lit RPG game lit genre, but post-apocalyptic self is huge. So, I mean, I hope I can find an audience for it. Now I'll go into what part 3 will cover quickly. It's going to cover pre-launch, finding good keywords and categories and genre targeting blurbs. That part's going to be pretty technical, and it'll go into how I'm going to run ads and whether I'm planning on running Facebook ads or not, which I've never done before, and how I'm going to basically split test them between game lit RPG people and post-apocalyptic people and maybe some other subgenres that I want to target. And I'll also cover what I'm going to do with my other books when all these books are launching, like Kindle Countdown deals and other tactics I'm going to use to get free promotion from my books, which includes things like posting into Facebook groups. Well, I hope you've learnt something from this video. I know it's been a long one, but thanks for listening. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Riley's Indie Author Journey podcast. Please subscribe and share the podcast with your author friends. Have a good author week writing and selling your books. Until next time, take care.